and Nicklaus was captain and I was captain, and we tied, and he said, "This week is the greatest sporting event I've ever participated in." And I was shocked.
How about Jack Nicklaus? Do you believe he is the greatest golfer ever to live?
You know, I think I'm pretty good too.
I think you're better than Nicklaus.
I think he and I would have a hell of a duel back in the day.
Do you think you're better than he is, even though he has 18 and you have 14?
I think right now I could kick his ass.
Some people thought Jack Nicklaus won his 18 major championships because he could hit the ball farther than anyone else. Others believed it was his powerful fade or his towering iron shots that made him great. But here's what they missed. The real reason Jack Nicklaus became the greatest golfer in history had nothing to do with his muscles. Golf legends who competed against him, who lost to him time and time again, all say the same thing. Jack Nicklaus was a genius, not just talented, not just skilled, a true mastermind who solved golf like it was a math problem. And when you hear what Arnold Palmer, Gary Player, Lee Trevino, Tom Watson, Johnny Miller, and Ben Crenshaw have to say about him, you'll understand why even the best players in the world felt beaten before they even stepped on the first tee. Arnold Palmer was the king of golf in the early 1960s. He had the crowds, he had the championships, he had everything. Palmer played with pure emotion, attacking every pin, taking risks that made fans jump out of their seats. Then Jack Nicklaus showed up in 1962 and everything changed. Palmer quickly realized he wasn't just facing another talented golfer. He was facing someone who played a completely different game. Palmer later said that Nicklaus became the high standard he was aiming for. That's a huge admission from a man who was dominating the sport. Nicklaus raised the level of strategic play. While Palmer relied on his heart and his ability to pull off miracle shots, Nicklaus used pure logic. Palmer once said that golf satisfies the soul and frustrates the intellect, but Nicklaus seemed immune to that frustration. His game was built on strength of mind and character, not on the emotions of the moment. The 1962 U.S. Open at Oakmont proved everything. This tournament happened in Palmer's home territory of Western Pennsylvania. The crowd wasn't just cheering for Palmer, they were openly hostile to the 22-year-old Nicklaus. Palmer expected the pressure to break the young challenger. Instead, he watched Nicklaus display mental strength that seemed almost superhuman. Palmer recognized that Nicklaus had absolute concentration, confidence, and competitive drive. The crowd's anger didn't touch him. He just kept executing his plan. When Nicklaus won that playoff, it wasn't just about a trophy changing hands. It was about a new era in golf psychology. Palmer realized that the road to success was under construction, and Nicklaus was building a completely new highway. Their rivalry became legendary, but the competitive reality was brutal. Beating Nicklaus had become nearly impossible. Palmer had to use massive amounts of mental energy just to keep pace with Nicklaus's strategic consistency. Nicklaus forced Palmer to play outside his comfort zone, to take risks that didn't make statistical sense. Just having Nicklaus in the field eliminated the possibility of winning with a normal performance. Nicklaus weaponized his calm demeanor. Against Palmer's fire, Nicklaus was pure ice. This forced Palmer to face a hard truth. Physical dominance wasn't enough against a superior strategist. The mastermind had arrived, and he proved that the mind could beat even the loudest crowd. Gary Player, the third member of golf's Big Three, saw something different in Nicklaus. Player was famous for his incredible fitness routine and his relentless practice. But when Player looked at Nicklaus, he saw a different kind of strength. Player consistently called Nicklaus the greatest mind the game has ever known. That's an incredible statement from a man who also won the career Grand Slam. Player believed that a strong mind was one of the key things separating the great players from the good ones. He had to manufacture his mental toughness through physical suffering. Nicklaus seemed to have it naturally built in. Player noticed that success or failure on the course was created primarily by thoughts, and in his view, Nicklaus's thoughts were unbeatable. If you're enjoying this video, hit that subscribe button and comment below which golf legend you'd like us to cover next. Player saw in Nicklaus the ability to never quit, never give up, no matter what the situation. This wasn't just a nice saying for Nicklaus. It was part of how his game actually worked. Player was amazed by Nicklaus's self-belief. Nicklaus once said, "You've got to believe you can play a shot instead of wondering where your next bad shot is coming from." This positive visualization protected Nicklaus during the most intense major championship moments. Player often remarked on the actual value of Nicklaus's mental game. During the Big Three era, Player noticed that just having Nicklaus's name on the leaderboard was worth 1 or 2 strokes before the round even started. This was the mastermind effect in action, the projection of inevitability. Player also pointed out something crucial about Nicklaus: his ability to recover from mistakes. Player noted that mistakes are part of the game, but how well you recover from them is the mark of a great player. Nicklaus didn't pile errors on top of errors. If he hit a drive into the rough, he had the discipline to chip out and play for pair or bogey instead of trying a hero shot that might lead to double bogey. Player viewed this risk management as supreme mental discipline, the ability to push down the ego in favor of the score. Lee Trevino brought a completely different perspective. Trevino was the Merry Mex, a wise-cracking player who seemed to fear nothing. He even beat Nicklaus in some huge moments, most famously at the 1971 U.S. Open. But Trevino's words about Nicklaus revealed revealed deep respect for the Golden Bears' psychological impact. Trevino famously said that every golfer walking onto the course knew they weren't just competing against Jack Nicklaus the man. They were competing against the Golden Bears' reputation. This observation gets to the heart of the mastermind idea. Trevino argued that the fear of Nicklaus was a real handicap for the field. Beyond the mechanics, Trevino saw that Nicklaus's reputation forced opponents into anxiety. Players would glance at the leaderboard, see Nicklaus climbing toward the top, and abandon their own game plans. They'd desperately try to create separation. This panic, caused just by Nicklaus's name, was the mastermind's greatest weapon. The 1971 U.S. Open playoff at Marion shows how Trevino dealt with the Nicklaus mystique. Before teeing off, Trevino pulled a rubber snake from his golf bag and tossed it at Nicklaus. The crowd laughed. Even Nicklaus smiled. People remember this as a prank, but it was actually a calculated psychological move. Trevino needed to pop the bubble of invincibility around Nicklaus. He understood that he couldn't out-strategize Nicklaus in a quiet, serious battle. That was Nicklaus's world. Instead, Trevino dragged Nicklaus into his world of jokes and chaos. But Trevino admitted that for most of the tour, Nicklaus's presence was suffocating. He noted that Nicklaus never learned anything from a match that he won. This meant Nicklaus's rare losses actually made him more dangerous the next time. Trevino's famous joke about the one iron reveals technical admiration. He said if you're caught on a golf course during a storm and afraid of lightning, hold up a one iron because not even God can hit a one iron. In the context of Nicklaus, this shows real respect. Nicklaus was one of the few players in history who could hit a one iron high and soft, landing it like a butterfly with sore feet. This shot was physical proof of his mental superiority, the ability to execute the hardest shot in golf under extreme pressure. Trevino recognized that when Nicklaus stood over a one iron, the field knew he could hit the green. This knowledge forced them to press harder, which led to mistakes. Tom Watson eventually became the player who dethroned Nicklaus as golf's dominant force in the late 1970s and early 1980s. Watson's early relationship with Nicklaus was pure competitive hostility, but as their battles got more intense, especially at majors, Watson noticed something critical about Nicklaus's competitiveness. There was no meanness in him. This observation is profound. In many sports rivalries, dominance comes from hatred, intimidation, or mind games. Watson realized Nicklaus operated differently. His drive came from inside. He didn't need to hate his opponent to beat them. He just needed to execute his plan. Watson said he admired Jack for many things, but especially for how he always treated their relationship. This clean competitiveness highlights the efficiency of the mastermind. Nicklaus wasted zero mental energy on personal conflict. His focus stayed entirely on the course, the conditions, and the ball. The 1977 Open Championship at Turnberry is widely considered the greatest head-to-head duel in golf history. Over the final two rounds, Watson and Nicklaus separated themselves completely from the field. They traded birdies in an incredible display of shot-making. Watson won by a single stroke. Right after the tournament, in the middle of heartbreak from losing a major he'd played well enough to win, Nicklaus put his arm around Watson's shoulder. Jack came over, put his arm around Watson's neck, gave him a tug, and said, "Tom, I gave you my best shot and it wasn't good enough. Congratulations, I'm really happy for you." To Watson, this moment was transformative. It wasn't just good manners, it was the ultimate sign of mental strength. The mastermind understood that one loss didn't define a career. By accepting defeat with grace, Nicklaus prevented the loss from becoming a mental scar. Watson realized that Nicklaus's long career was rooted in this emotional stability. Watson also marveled at the cold, calculated efficiency of Nicklaus's preparation. He noted that Nicklaus's dominance came purely from superior preparation and execution. Nicklaus would arrive at a major venue early, map the course carefully, and figure out a strategy that eliminated variables. Watson saw this mastermind quality as the ability to remove the self-destructive tendencies that hurt weaker players. Nicklaus didn't beat himself. You had to go out and beat him by playing the best golf of your life. Johnny Miller provides the most detailed technical breakdown of Nicklaus's genius. Miller, who shot a famous final round 63 to win the 1973 U.S. Open at Oakmont, was an aggressive player who fired at flags. He analyzed Nicklaus's strategy as playing for the tournament, not the shot. Miller observed that Nicklaus's course management was built on a paradox. He was the most powerful player of his generation, yet he played with extreme caution. Nicklaus would aim away from trouble, often targeting the center of the green, no matter where the pin was. Miller noted that this risk-averse approach was actually a long-term aggressive strategy. By refusing to make bogeys or double bogeys, Nicklaus put immense pressure on opponents to make birdies. Miller often analyzed the technical parts of Nicklaus's game to explain his mental approach. He highlighted Nicklaus's quote that a perfectly straight shot with a big club is a fluke. To handle this, Nicklaus played a power fade almost exclusively. Miller explained this was a strategic decision to eliminate the left side of the golf course. By removing the hook, the shot that typically happens under pressure and leads to disaster, Nicklaus simplified his mental calculations. He knew his ball would move left to right. This reliability let him aim down the left side of the fairway or green, knowing the ball would curve back to safety. Miller saw this as the ultimate sign of a mastermind, simplifying the complex variables of ball flight into a predictable, repeatable formula. Miller's analysis extends to the time element of Nicklaus's strategy. He argued that Nicklaus viewed a tournament not as individual shots, but as a 72-hole war, playing for the eye. Tournament meant positioning yourself to be in contention on the back nine of Sunday. Nicklaus was content to make pairs for 63 holes, letting aggressive players like Miller or Palmer burn themselves out with risky shots. Miller pointed out that Nicklaus's strategy was designed to benefit from the choke factor of others. Miller said everybody has some part of their game that is easily influenced to choke. Nicklaus knew this. By staying steady, he let the pressure of the moment crush his opponents. Miller saw Nicklaus not just as a golfer, but as a predator, waiting for the inevitable mistake. Ben Crenshaw, a two-time Masters champion and a deep student of golf history, focused on Nicklaus's unmatched ability to control time. Crenshaw spoke about Nicklaus's ability to peak precisely for the 4 biggest events of the year. In professional golf, timing is everything. Players often struggle to maintain form for more than a few weeks. Nicklaus treated regular tour events as practice. He'd often tinker with his swing or equipment, only locking in completely when a major arrived. Crenshaw described this as genius course management that went beyond the ropes. Nicklaus managed his schedule, his energy, and his focus to make sure his best form showed up during the majors. Crenshaw's insights shine brightest when discussing the 1986 Masters. At age 46, Nicklaus was considered past his prime. Yet Crenshaw observed that Nicklaus used his encyclopedic knowledge of Augusta National to dismantle a field of younger, stronger, but less wise competitors. Nicklaus's back nine charge, where he shot a 30, wasn't just a hot streak. It was a clinic in management. Nicklaus knew exactly where the safe zones were. On the par 5 15th, he knew he had to make eagle to apply pressure. On the par 3 16th, he knew the exact shelf to land the ball on. The famous moment on the 17th green where Nicklaus raised his putter before the ball even dropped was the peak of this mastery. Crenshaw saw this as ultimate validation of the mastermind. Nicklaus had read the green, calculated the speed, trusted the line, and knew the outcome before physics finished. It was mind over matter, memory over age. When you put together everything Palmer, Player, Trevino, Watson, Miller, and Crenshaw said, a complete picture emerges. Nicklaus wasn't just talented. He was a walking algorithm of psychological and strategic brilliance. He had emotional control that Watson and Palmer recognized. He never wasted energy on anger or celebration. He had strategic patience that Miller and Trevino saw. By refusing unnecessary risks, Nicklaus forced opponents to take them. He had mental endurance that Player admired, the discipline to concentrate for 72 holes and bounce back instantly from mistakes. He had time management skills that Crenshaw identified, the big picture strategy of peaking for majors, and he had a psychological aura that Trevino feared, the cultivation of a reputation that beat opponents before they hit their first shot. Central to all of this was Nicklaus's philosophy. He believed golf is not and never has been a fair game. While other players complained about bad bounces, spike marks, or weather, Nicklaus accepted these as natural conditions. This mindset prevented him from wasting mental energy on things he couldn't control. He focused entirely on his response to bad breaks rather than the unfairness of them. Jack Nicklaus didn't just win 18 major championships through physical gifts. According to the people who competed against him, his true dominance came from his mind. He treated a 72-hole major championship not as a physical contest, but as a strategic equation. Patience, risk management, and emotional control were his variables for victory. Palmer recognized him as a relentless strategist who raised the standard. Player called him the greatest mind the game has ever known. Trevino said competing against his reputation was worth strokes. Watson admired his clean competitiveness with no meanness. Miller analyzed his conservative aggression. Crenshaw marveled at his ability to peak for majors. The collective testimony paints a portrait beyond statistics. While 18 majors is the numerical proof of greatness, the cause of that greatness was his mind. Nicklaus integrated every part of the game into a unified theory of winning. He didn't rely on luck. He relied on strength of mind and character that was disciplined, intimidating, clean, calculating, and historically aware. He professionalized the mind of the golfer. He showed that while the body plays shots, the mind wins tournaments. So if you loved learning about what made Nicklaus truly great, drop a comment telling us which golf legend you'd like us to cover next. And don't forget to subscribe because we're bringing you more stories about the strategic genius behind sport's greatest moments. The fear of Nicklaus was worth strokes to everyone else, but for Nicklaus himself, mastery of his own mind was worth history.